Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link in the description below.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Apex Online Racing YouTube channel, where today we have round 2 of Season 16 from the AOR Project Cars 2 GT3 League. Today's race is going to be at Bathurst, and joining me here in the commentary box is once again from last week going to be Matt. Welcome along, mate.
Good evening, everybody. Yep, we are here at Bathurst in Australia, I should say. We've jumped over the Pacific from Daytona last week even. We're looking forward to this. I'm really looking forward to this. I haven't actually driven this track before in Project Cars 2, so I'm intrigued to see how the drivers get on in this early qualifying session and in the race as well. But I think we enjoyed the opening round of the season last week, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a pretty good race and battles pretty much throughout the field from lights to flag. And it was the man that we were watching just now, Strongest Avenger, in the Aston Martin, who came away with the race win, and he took away a full 52 points as well, as he got the fastest lap of the race, I believe. So he had a very strong performance, but as he said in the post-race interview, I think he's going to find it a bit of a struggle to kind of carry that that performance and those kind of results throughout the remainder of the calendar. That Aston Martin V12 Vantage that he's got there, although it can be quite a good car, it takes quite a lot of setup work, and in some of the twistier circuits it's not quite as competent. Its main strength is its straight line speed, so it'll be good on the Mountain Straight and Conrod Straight, which is just come off here. But going over the top of that the mountain section, I imagine the Aston Martin might be a little bit of a handful. But with these cooler conditions starting off in the early hours of the morning, the qualifying session here taking place at 4 AM, it's going to be in the Aston Martin's favour to stick with the soft tyres, and that car does like a good set of softs for all its corner and grip.
Yes, and obviously the defending champion is back. Andrex is back in the field. Now he's got that 52-point advantage to claw back, so it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on as we ride on board here with Strongest Avenger on his first lap of the Bathurst track.
Yep, so he's just coming up through Quarry Corner, turn 2, carrying some nice speed, holding third gear, flicking up to fourth just as we come into the cutting. In fact, he actually holds it in third before dropping it down and coming through the long left-hander. We then come up towards Griffin's Mount, flinging it into the right-hander. Just a slight breathe on the throttle as he came through there as we go through Reeve Park. Now coming down into Salmon Park. Doesn't sound like he lifted going through there, if at all. Now coming through McPhillamys, avoiding the curb on the outside, and now then down over the drop, the famous Skyline. And we go down through the S's section, down through the Dipper, as the car goes very, very light before he flicks it right. And then we come down, actually no, sorry, the Dipper is just here. And then we come into Forest Elbow, down into first, second gear, before getting hard on the power. The exit off that corner is crucial for the run onto the long Conrad Straight here. Goes down the hill, it comes back up towards the Pirelli gantry. Spling underneath that. When you come into turn 20, the chase braking hard, about 120, 130 metres before the corner, shifting it down through the gears, trying to get it tucked into the chicane. Missed the apex and ran pretty deep there, but managed to keep the lap legal so far. It's now just Murray's corner, the final turn, braking just after the 100-metre board, down through the gears, hooking up the apex quite nicely. The car moving around a little bit, and Strongest Avenger's first lap is going to be 2:02.5. That is a very impressive lap time to start off the session.
Yeah, for a first run, that's a very strong time indeed. So he's 0.7 of a second ahead of Moo. I'm going to try and pick up last season's champion Andrex, who's just coming towards the end of his first fly-in lap. Do you expect him to be right on the pace?
I kind of expect him to be in and around the top 10. It's going to be interesting to see how that Mercedes SLS actually handles. It's the older generation of the Mercedes GT3 car. it's pretty horrible on the brakes, very long braking zones, but it's pretty good in a straight line, so fairly similar to the Aston Martin. It'll probably be good on the two straights, but not so sure on the actual mountain section.
Yeah, so his first lap is a 2:05.1, just winding things up. The one car that I wanted to sort of really keep my eye on, if I can find him, is Yogurt.
There he is.
Last week we saw that he was very quick, even through the very fast sections of Daytona, even though he had the advantage of a slipstream. Do you think this Giannetta's going to be a big help for him, especially through this section here now where we come through the switchback S's?
Oh yeah, definitely. The Giannetta will really relish these twistier sections, make use of the aero efficiency on the car. The thing that's going to struggle is obviously going to be the straights, and the other naturally aspirated cars as well are also going to struggle a little bit in terms of top speed in comparison to the cars that come with a turbo, as you do actually simulate the altitude here, and therefore the air is a little bit thinner and they don't quite produce the power, whereas the turbo cars, the forced induction of the air being forced through into the engine completely negates that, and they kind of retain their power. So those NA cars are going to struggle, I think, compared to the turbos.
Okay, we'll stick with him for now because I really would like to see how this car handles through the twisty infield sections. So strongest Avenger still fastest at the moment. He's 0.4 of a second quicker than Moo so far. As we come down then through turn 1. And the amount of curb they take on the exit of that corner astounds me. I was watching actually some real life footage before coming onto this, and it's amazing how much they have to attack the curbs on this track to carry those speeds through the corners.
Oh yeah, it's full commitment. Obviously, the earlier they can get on the power and unwind the steering lock coming off that first turn, the better the run they're going to have coming up the mountain straight. And then basically from here on in, it's full commitment over the mountain section to really try and eke out every tenth that you can. Kind of basically skirting and flirting with the walls a little bit in a couple of places, especially here coming through Reed Park.
Very undulating this track, isn't it? Oh, I think he may have kissed the wall slightly on the outside of the corner, just coming up over the crest. So let's see how committed he is through this downhill section now as he throws it in to the right, then the left, takes plenty of curb on the inside. Fairly committed through there, still getting the tyres up to temperature. He was weaving a lot through his previous lap. So let's see where this puts him. He's currently slowest of the cars that have set a time, but obviously it's all about just getting the car up to temperature at this point and then absolutely gunning it as we have about 6.5 minutes to go. Let's see where this puts him then as he comes towards the end of the lap.
Yeah, so he's accelerating at the moment, coming down Conrad Straight, coming to the fastest corner in Australia. So fling it through the right-handed kink there before getting hard onto the brakes, coming into the chase. Hooks up the apex quite nicely on the inside, although I think him touching the curb bounced him up wide and he's gone and bailed on that lap, so that's really unfortunate. We're hoping to see him finish there, but opted
that was
to
a shame.
yeah, return back to the pit lane. So we've got Fubar, I believe in that Renault RS01. One of the naturally aspirated... Actually no, I think it's one of the turbo cars. Sorry, that's what I was meant to say. That Ferrari 488 behind certainly is a turbo car, and that will run pretty well here. I imagine that will have some pretty good straight line speed. Also the BMW M6 GT3, I can't quite remember off the top of my head who that was driving it last week. But that's a pretty good car for this track.
Another one of these cars that you said was a bit of a wild card pick. We were talking about it quite a bit last week. Fubar's currently 5th at the moment. Let's see where this lap puts him as he comes through the final corner. Doesn't attack the curb as much as some of the other drivers did. He comes across the line. He's still 5th at the moment. So let's see if we can pick up some of the other drivers while we're at. Let's take a look at some of the newer guys, shall we?
So, yeah, we've got Sinterfeld here, Just coming through over the top section in the Renault RS01 as well. Now just coming into McPhillamy Park. Full on commitment there. Would you mind bringing up the speedo for me as well, actually? To really get an idea of their throttle and braking inputs, just to see how much they're really pushing coming through this mountain section. Looking rather tidy coming through there. So we're now coming down into the dipper through Forest Elbow. Hooks it in quite nicely. Maintains second gear in that Renault. Like we said last week, he's got 7 gears on this car, so he's got the advantage there of the fuel being able to run potentially a higher top speed. Let's see what speed he does reach here at the end of the straight. Should be in and around the 275, 280 mark. 277, 278 before getting hard on the brakes. It's pretty much bang on for what you'd be looking for in terms of a GT3 car straight line speed. Going into that section. Just coming down to the final turn now. So we'll follow him out to the end of the lap, see what lap time he actually sets as it comes across towards the line. Currently in 16th position, a 207.2. I don't see any improvement, so I think he may have just been starting... Well, no, he must have bailed on that lap, I think.
Yeah, didn't improve, did he? So let's have a look at Tony then. Is he running the Renault as well? I seem to be picking out a few of the Renaults tonight.
Yep, getting them some airtime. I mean, they've been pretty absent from all the previous seasons, so it only makes sense to get them on screen and see them circulating around the track. See that the horizon is starting to get a little bit light off in the distance as well, which looks good.
Do you really think that these cars then, they'll have to try and find somewhere on the track where they can get a little bit of a tow, especially down these back straights and at the start of the lap? But then, of course, you don't want to be held up in the middle part. So is it crucial for these Renaults then to find that pocket of time but behind another car that they can get that advantage, or, you know, sort of negate their disadvantage in a straight line?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the cars are going to be looking for the tows going down the straight. I imagine the first couple of laps are going to be pretty hairy. We've seen some pretty chaotic scenarios play out on the opening lap in the previous seasons. But if they can stick with a car going over the top of the mountain section, where I imagine their downforce levels are pretty good, coming from the standard Renault RS01, they should fare pretty well across the top there. And then, yeah, as I say, if they can stick within the tow, they'll get that slipstream advantage and might be able to hang onto the back of a couple of the other faster cars, although I think the majority of the field is actually naturally aspirated, which makes it interesting. So seeing Kiwanik in the Audi R8, just chasing down a Lamborghini up there in front of him. Can't quite remember which one that is. It's either going to be Dynamite Alive or Lumi, one of the 2 V10 gang team drivers, judging by the paint scheme. Let's see up in front there. Actually, no, I could be wrong. It could be Niddle or B-Cliff. Sorry, not either of the 2 V10 gang drivers. So they've got the very coloured, multicoloured. Looks like it was painted by a 5-year-old sort of coloured Lamborghini as Kiwanik goes and clobbers the wall on the outside of the final turn, and that's going to be his qualifying session over.
Yep, only, well, 45 seconds to go, and most of the top guys are in the pit, so it looks as if the strongest Avenger has another pole position as we look at Bouge France here coming through the S's.
Yeah, he's just dropping down the depot. We saw a shower of sparks come off the car as he grazed the wall coming out of Salmon Park. So, I think that may have been a touch of the wall there on the inside. Rear end really breaking away from him as he was trying to apply the power there. But he's still accelerating away, currently in provisional P10. It's 5 seconds left in the session, and then whatever time is left for people to complete the laps that they are currently on. He's choosing to go back to pits. Yeah. So Jorguk, eyes turn to him in the Ginetta.
Coming towards the final corner then. This will be his last attempt. He's currently 7th. Let's see where he can put this Ginetta.
Yep, he's just coming to the line now, and he bumps himself up into 4th. He'll be very pleased with that. A solid showing within a second of the Aston Martin, the strongest Avenger, who still held onto that pole position from earlier on. Seeing Speedy go. Also in a Ginetta. Hey, teammate with Jorgert. That's good to see. We didn't see Speedy go last week in the opening round, but he's here this week. He's currently in 9th position, so he's doing pretty well in the Ginetta as well. He's got a Lamborghini just up in front. That'll be either Stephen Curry or Jack Game 88. Oh, that's very wide, dipping the wheels out into the gravel there. He's going to have to bail out of it, as I think he's hit the wall on the inside of the skyline. Gets out the way of, I think that was As Turbo going through the picture. Indeed it was, in that McLaren. It's a bit of an odd livery, because that black kind of pinstriping. Whoa, dear, that was very close to the wall on the inside. Very well held, managing to gather that one back up. I was saying, yeah, the black pinstriping coming down from the front windscreen down towards the nose of the car makes it look like the front bumpers kind of become disjointed from the bodywork. It's a little bit odd.
I don't know how he managed to hold on to that when he lost it coming through the S's. I would have put that straight in the wall, so fair play to As Turbo for hanging on to that. He's currently in 15th. There's 3 drivers on a lap. We're about to see where he ends up.
Yeah, it's just coming around the final corner now. He's closing up on the Lamborghini in front. But don't know whether he's actually gaining time on his previous position. So he goes across the line now. I think he did move up to around about 12th, 13th position, I think. So here is the confirmation of the qualifying results. Strongest Avenger taking the pole in the Aston Martin, with Moo there in 2nd position, Lumi in 3rd, Jorgert in 4th position, Dynamite Alive in 5th, with Tony Clifton in 6th place, Fubar in 7th, Alan coming up in 8th, 9th goes to Speedy Go, and then Andrex rounds out the top 10. Vogue France there in 11th position, with 12 going to As Turbo, managing to gain a good 4 positions there right at the line in the dying moments. Zenzik comes home 13th position with Tripp in 14th. Enton will be starting in 15th. 16th goes to WMDR Martin. Kiwanik in 17th. Stephen Curry in 18th position. Nat in 19th position. Jack Game in 20th. Sintefel in 21st, with Cameron 951320 in 22nd. Luke there in 23rd, the kinky one in 24th, Jobsk in the BMW M6. I knew there was one somewhere on the grid. Is going to be starting in 25th position. Beecliff is in 26th, and then Niederlap is starting at the back of the grid in 27th.
Well, you were pretty much on the ball when it came to the defending champion. He starts 10th in this race, as we now wait for them to set up the cars, get their pit strategy sorted, and we'll have the formation lap. So following on from last week, it's another pole position point for Strongest Avenger. That's pretty good going from him, and it's the 2nd time, I believe, that Moo has started on the front row alongside him. So those two are going to be having a decent scrap going into the first corner, I believe. So while as we wait for the drivers to set themselves up, we will... Who do you think is going to win this? Go on, give me your opinion.
Oh, I think it's going to be really, really tough. Unfortunately, my game has just crashed as we're advancing onto the lobby there. Hopefully that's not going to affect anyone else. I'm having to restart the game now. But yeah, it's going to be very, very tight. I'm keen to see how Strongest Avenger manages to deal with the Aston Martin. As I said earlier on, I think the conditions suit him and the Aston quite nicely if he can stick with the softs. It's quite a long race that we have this evening, I believe. Is it one of the 90-minute races? I think it is.
6 laps, so...
Yeah, it's quite a long one, so I believe this is one of the 90-minute races, so it's going to be pretty difficult for him to hold on to the tyres for that long. I know the hard tyres can go about 2 hours, and I think the softs can manage an hour, but he could quite easily prove me wrong. Obviously, Tripp's going to be looking for a good result as well. I'm keen to see how Jorgert does. starting in the in that Ginetta as well. But who have you got your eyes on and kind of edging your bet towards for the race win?
Well, it's very tough to call between, you know, you've got to say the front four. Yogurt, I'm with you. He's one of the ones you have to watch. The fact that he's qualified in 4th place, that's a very strong starting position. If he can get into the top 3 today, that'll be a very good result for him. Obviously, we need to keep an eye on our defending champion to see how he starts his campaign, because obviously he missed out at Daytona first time around. But, you know, the likes of Dynamite Alive, who really could have done... I don't want to say this in a very derogatory way, but he could have done better when it came to his results at Daytona. He was running very well, and I think he had a bit of a slow pit stop, which cost him in the end. And he had a spin, if I remember correctly, at the start. So he actually did very well to come back, but it could have been a lot better without that mistake. So the front four, well, the front 5 really are all very close together, and to have that Renault Tony Clifton right behind them as well, it's going to be interesting to see. I think whoever gets in front early on has got a very good chance, providing they don't make many mistakes.
Yep, definitely, and that's going to be the key factor, is to avoid making those mistakes and trying to keep out of the walls. Obviously, coming over this mountain section, they are very, very close. They are very punishing if a driver does hit them, as picking up aero damage can be quite detrimental in terms of a car's straight line speed. So they will certainly feel the effects of that back in the lobby, and watching the cars trundle around on the formation lap. Strongest Avenger there, just coming through McPhillamy. Notice that he's not doing quite as much weaving as some of the other guys. He is doing a bit, but he's not too worried, it seems, about his tyres, and possibly trying to look after them a little bit more, trying not to take too much life out of them here as they're rolling round to begin the 36 racing laps.
Always a tense moment now that the drivers making sure they get the cars, their tyres, their brakes up to temperature, and then they will start forming up as they come towards the end of this lap. But that's the main thing. I said it last week. You've got to get these cars in the right operating temperature, especially with the tyres, because it is basically like driving on ice. If you don't, I know that's a cliche in motorsport, but it's absolutely true. If you don't have those tyres up to the right temperature, you're going to struggle early on. And if anyone makes a mistake, someone's going to be there to capitalize on it.
Yeah, definitely. So, guys are just coming down towards the chase. Once they come out of the chicane and start heading towards the bridge and past the hotel, that'll be on driver's right. They'll form up into their 2x2 formation. They'll drop the speed down to 80 kilometers an hour and 50 miles an hour, which we'll see if we bring up the speedo as well. And then we can see, my god, Lumi getting very, very close once again to the back of Strongest Avenger, trying to put himself in the most ideal position he possibly can, ready for this race start. Taking out a few cones as he's doing a little bit more tyre weaving. They thankfully bounce out of the way for the most part. And we got Mo just there on the left-hand side. Our Strongest Avenger has gone and put his foot down. We're underway racing. Yogurt pulling out from the train a little bit early, trying to look for the position. It looks like Lumi has managed to get himself up into second, but it's Mo sweeping around the outside there to try and hold on to the place. Yogurt seems to be sat in the pound seat, still holding on to that 4th position. Lumi is going to be there, trying to econ past Mo at the moment. It's pretty much neck and neck, a drag race between the two as they're up towards the second turn. Is Lumi trying to swing it around the outside, carrying the speed there. A Dynamite Alive with the tail end hanging out. Looks like the drivers have managed to filter through quite smoothly. A little bit of a break on in the cars a little bit further back down the field, but things starting to settle down, and it looks like for the moment the drivers are pretty much settled into the positions that they actually started in, apart from Dynamite Alive losing that 5th position to Tony Clifton, and that's Jorgert in the wall, quite hard, quite heavy. That's going to be very detrimental to his race. No doubt suspension and aero damage going to be there on his car after that bit of contact.
No, we said they had all gone very well, and then Jorgert make a slight mistake. He may just get away with it, but still there in 5th place. Fubar's made a good start. He's up to 4th place. So a very good start for the Renault, but the top 3 are breaking away. They have the gap between Lumi and Fubar is already up to 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, we can see them there off in the background of the picture. Jogurk losing in a straight line speed. This is Lumi at the tail end of the 3-car train at the head of the field. The Aston Martin leading away, punching a very nice hole in the air for the 2 Lamborghinis following behind. They sit line astern for the moment, although it was Moo having a little bit of a look to see if he can try and put Strongest Avenger under a little bit of pressure going into the braking zone, but nothing came of it. Lumi very much out on the dirt and the grass out there, which just dropped him off the back of Mo by a couple of car lengths. So we can see the gap eking up to half a second as the first racing lap is now complete.
Yeah, as they settle down at the front then, there's plenty of cars within a second of each other. Let's have a look at Andrex then. He's still in 10th. He's right behind Boj Franz and ahead of As Turbo in the other Renault. So there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 car scrap at the moment for 10th place, headed by our defending champion. But it looks as if he's just making a little bit of a break and is now just starting to catch up to the back of Boj Franz.
Yep, it seems like the train is filtering quite nicely. The driver's being quite patient. Obviously a long race track where it's quite easy to make mistakes and they're not pushing each other too hard. See Boj Franz, we've got a couple of pitters already. Nat is into the pits. It looks like Stephen Curry also in there and Anton as well. Stephen Curry there, the Lamborghini. That's Anton just peeling out of his pit box now, rolling down pit road. So possibly some damage early on, or maybe not taking enough fuel. I know the drivers probably will have to make a fuel stop at some point in this race. Seems a little bit early to be doing that, but yeah, the drivers will have to serve a mandatory pit stop here in this one, like they will in pretty much all the races throughout the season, apart from the double headers. We're now back with Boj Franz as he's hunting down the Mercedes SLS of Alan in front.
I wonder if those 3 were involved in an incident, because it looks as if Anton may have got a penalty. He's got a 10-second penalty. So maybe those 3 were caught up in an incident earlier on that in the second lap, which forced them into the pits.
Quite potentially. That 10-second penalty probably would have come from speeding in the pit lane. So if he came into the pit a little bit too hot, he probably would have picked it up from there. But we can see Alan, and it also looks like Tony Clifton just up ahead of Boj Franz, and who's behind Boj? Well, we've got 2 battles fairly close. Alan at the moment staring right into the back of that Renault RS01 as they're coming up the first major straight. We're going to be side by side with Alan on the outside. The SLS should have the straight line speed, but it's going to be the long way round coming through turn 2, and Tony Clifton holds the position going through that corner quite nicely. It's Andrex and Boj Franz that are battling away behind, and the fact that the 2 drivers went side by side coming into that second corner has allowed Boj Franz and Andrex to close up to make it a nice 4-car train as we now come up over this mountain section.
Yeah, a Renault being chased by 3 Mercedes. Last week we had 2 Mercedes and 2 Lamborghinis fighting each other, but that Renault is going to do very well to keep in front of these 3 that look desperate, shall we say, to get past. Alan, I think it was a bit of a risky move to go around the outside, but is that Boj Franz off in the background?
Yeah, just going straight across the skyline section there. The car just breaking away, getting loose, coming up over the crest as he was getting onto the brakes, and rather than trying to fight it too much and bring it back in, just decided to basically let the car roll and just go straight across the chicane. It's a much safer option, considering the walls are pretty close on the right hand side and it's easy to lock up and spin off in that direction. But we're seeing Dynamite alive on the back of Jogurk at the moment, who hasn't pitted despite the taps with the wall on the opening lap, holding on to that 5th position, keeping Dynamite alive behind for the moment. We follow each other on down towards the final turn there. We just saw the leaders in the foreground of the shot. And then we got Fubar in that Renault, just up in front of this battling pair.
Yeah, he couldn't have picked up that much damage. It hasn't slowed him too much, but he is now under pressure. If he can get a bit closer to the back of Fubar, he will be getting a little bit of a tow. So that may just keep him ahead of the Lamborghini for now. But yeah, Dynamite Alive looking very feisty as they come down the straight. But yeah, that Ginetta, with the help of the slipstream, is just about keeping ahead. And now through this section, we expect it to be very lively and very grippy as it goes through the uphill sections now, and then down the other side of the hill as we've got Tony Clifton in the pits.
Yep, I was just about to point that out as well, as Andrax is up into 8th position behind his teammate. Imagine that might have been a fairly routine stop, but he's back out onto the circuit, obviously further down the field. Vogue France now staring at the back of Andrax. We've also got B Cliff in the pit lane as well. Tony Clifton has come back out in 22nd position. It's behind Jobsk by a fair margin, but B Cliff coming down pit road. That's Anton to the left of the screen. We can just about see he's going to slip on past and up into that 24th position. So B Cliff dropping down into 25th. See the front of the Lamborghini a little bit battered and bruised. WMDR Martin, our resident pad driver, staring at the back of Zenzik in his Audi R8, just following through the Audi cutting. And then we've got Speedy Go, who is Jorgok's teammate in the Ginetta, just up ahead. And yes, the windscreen wiper is wagging away like it always is on that Lamborghini.
Trademark of his, isn't it?
It is. I asked about it.
Characteristic that we could all pick him out on in the races then.
Yeah, I did highlight it last week as WMDR Martin was having a little bit of a look down the inside of the Audi R8, and Speedy Go went off a little bit too deep, outbraking himself across the chase chicane there. Manages to maintain his position, although I think he's lost a little bit of ground. Zenzik is closed up and is now very much right underneath the rear wing of the Ginetta. But yeah, I mentioned it to him last season and asked why he has the windscreen wiper going. His response was, "Why not?"
Fair play, fair play.
Yeah, possibly a little bit of a. Well, actually, no. Someone in the comments did wonder if he'll provide a little bit of extra, like, aero efficiency or a little bit of extra downforce, but I'd argue that the windscreen wiper flapping around would send the air going off all over the place in different directions and kind of disturbing it more than you know, attaching it to the surface of the car. And we see Jorgok now has been passed by Dynamite Alive, but is certainly holding on to the back of that Lamborghini coming up over here, up over the mountain here.
Oh, he's made a slight mistake. He's had to go across the chicane. It looked as if he was actually going to have a look at Dynamite Alive again, but just lost the back end a little bit as they came towards the chicane, but managed to hang on to it, as I think they're coming up behind the back marker now.
That's Fubar.
Is it? Oh, it is Fubar.
Yep.
My apologies. Yes, it was Fubar. So these three have now closed up quite a lot.
Yep, nice good three-way fight. Just having a look at the standings at the top there. Actually, drop that. Dynamite Alive is having a sniff down the inside of Fubar. Coming into the chase, doesn't quite pull up alongside in the braking zone, but Fubar's gone a little bit deep. That could be Dynamite's Live's opportunity to try and slip past. Jorgok trying to cash in on this fight as well. Fubar diving on into the pits, so that's released these two drivers, but Jorgok is now right there, tucked up underneath the rear bumper of that Lamborghini. It's probably best to sit behind coming through the first corner here and try and use the slipstream coming up the hill. So we jump on board with him onto the roof cam. We've also got Bogue France into the pit lane as well, giving Fubar some company. I think we may have also had a retiree as we're down to 27 drivers, but you can see the straight line speed difference. The Lamborghini pulling away from the Ginetta, but if we stay on board with Jorgok here, we'll probably see that gap close and shrink as we come up over the mountain section.
He got a nice double toe down that back straight, didn't he? And he managed to keep Jorg in contention as they went through the chicane, and it looked as if they were going to go 3 abreast as they went into the final corner, but Fubar rather spoiled that by jumping into the pit lane. But we've still got a fight on between these two. Let's see if they both make it through the chicane. Oh, Jorg was so close there to clipping the outside wall, as I think he, was that the same wall he hit earlier on in the race, or a little bit further back?
That was a bit further back earlier on in the mountain section. Dynamite Alive, very, very loose, coming down through Skyline in the S's there. He's managed to gather it back up and keep it out of the wall. We can see an awful lot of gravel being pulled onto the circuit there, as well as they dip the wheels onto the dirt on the inside, going down through the S's. That's just pulling the dirt and dust onto the track with the Track 3.0 system. Once again, Dynamite Alive pulling away with the slipstream. Otherwise, Jorg was looking to be relatively close, though he's could potentially try and make a late lunge on the brakes, but I think he's going to be too far back.
Oh, yeah, be a brave man to send one up from. It'd have to be a Daniel Ricciardo style move to have a go down there. But these two, either of them go into pit? No, they continue as well. The front three are still pretty close together, although Moose has dropped back a little bit now. But Lumi is right up behind Strongest Avenger here.
Actually, there's been a change of positions. Lumi has managed to get the better of Moo and taken that second position. Strongest Avenger weaving down the straight, trying to break the toe, and rightly so. Lumi flashing the lights. I think that was possibly a few too many moves back and forth. Lumi not too happy about that, but fairly close between the two, half a second at the moment. One thing that I did also notice was Alan was closing up on Dynamite Alive and Jorg on the previous 2 laps. That gap was shrinking there, but this battle at the head of the field seems very nice and tight, and Moo is just sat there lurking just over a second off the back of Lumi, waiting to pounce if either of the 2 drivers in front make a mistake, such as Strongest Avenger just scraping the wall there. Coming up over the mountain section, we've got Fubar trying to find his way past Sinterfell, and slips around the outside, as I think Sinterfell lifted out the throttle there and let him go on through, knowing that Fubar's probably a slightly faster driver. There's no point in wasting time trying to battle and hold on onto the position, and instead think of the long game.
Yeah, Fubar and Beaujolais looking to move their way back up the order, and yeah, it was pretty sensible there from the Renault, letting Fubar go through. As you said, he probably knew it wasn't his fight. He's just trying to keep his car on the island, maybe even score some points today. So see now at these early drivers that have pitted how quickly they can make their way through the traffic, and see where they will end up when all the pit stops have been completed. But we'll see now. I would imagine that Beauchamp will get a pretty decent run out of the dip onto the back straight, and we'll hope to have the move done before the right-hand kink, as he goes the inside already.
Yep, he just managed to slow the car down and hook it into the apex a fair bit better than Sinterfell did just then, and that allowed him to basically get the opportunity to slip on past on the exit. There's no doubt the Renault RS01 driver would have had to hesitate on getting on the throttle onto the straight. So Beauchamp now back up into the top 16 after his earlier pit stop. There is Jobsk in the BMW M6, 21st position. He's got the kinky one just in front, and then we've got Nidelap just behind by over a second and a half in that Lamborghini. I do have to say, I quite like the iconic Falcon livery, as that is Lumi swinging around the outside of Strongest Avenger coming up through Reed Park. What a move that is. Strongest Avenger thinking very wise to back out of the throttle and let that one go on through, but brilliant stuff, managing to pick that one up just as that battle and overtake was unfolding.
Looking very strong, isn't he, Lumi? We said last week he was going very well too, and if he can pull that gap, maybe on for our second different race winner of the season. But don't count Strongest Avenger out yet.
Oh! What a save!
Oh, he did so well to hang on to that, but now is that going to give Moo an opportunity? He's a little bit too far back, but how did he save that?
I don't know, but Moo I think he would have had the opportunity, but as he was getting hard on the throttle coming off the exit, probably seeing Strongest Avenger going sideways over the crest and into the corner, he just broke the rear end of his Lamborghini loose and had to fishtail that one back into check. But yeah, the thing is just Strongest Avenger just a little bit too hard on the brakes coming up over the crest. The car going light in the rear end, trying to swap ends. But if you're able to jump hard on the brakes and kind of lock up the tyres and obviously steer into the slide, you can somewhat rescue it. You do risk, if you get a little bit too much angle, slipping onto the inside wall, but I think Strongest Avenger was just in the fortunate position with just enough angle to keep him out of it, and then a bit of skill and some butt clenching, keeping the car out of the walls, and it's still going in the right direction unscathed.
Yeah, I got to admire his skill for hanging on to that one. Flipping heck, he did so well, especially as it was downhill as well, as you said, with the back end stepping out. That could have very easily ended his race, let alone just lost him a position to move behind. But is that Aston Martin now struggling on the tyres, or is it just the fact now that Lumi's just found some really strong pace?
I think it was possibly the nature of the next part of the circuit, as Lumi's clobbering the wall there, coming up through Reed Park. Hopefully that hasn't incurred too much damage to his Lamborghini. But yeah, the longer straights would have given the tyres a chance to cool off, especially in these cooler conditions, and then obviously the straight line speed of the Aston Martin probably helped to bring it back towards the Lamborghini once again. But we'll see over this mountain section as they're coming back down the hill, down towards the Dipper. See how much pace Lumi actually has. He's managed to get the gap back out over a second and off in the distance as well. Seeing the Stun starting to rear its head over the horizon.
In comes Jobsken in the sole BMW. Am I right in saying he's the only BMW in the field at the moment?
I believe so, yeah.
He's running down there in 23rd, and Luke coming in behind him as well as they're refueling the BMW as well as the Audi comes down the pit lane. The field is pretty well spread out now. We've got a few cars that have made their pit stops. Let's have a look at Tony Clifton then, who's behind the other Renault of Cinderfell as they come towards, I believe, the downhill section. Yes, there they are.
Yep, just coming up over Skyline. It's back into 19th position at the moment, but it's Fubar who's in 14th as the lead driver, who has already served the mandatory stop. But we do have a Renault versus Renault battle unfolding here. So they just come out of the Forest Elbow, down the hill, underneath the Brembo gantry there. Tony Clifton quite nicely in the slipstream, getting a nice tow from his teammate as he slips on past. Sinterfell not really putting up any fight there, letting his teammate go on through. It's probably instead going to try and hang with him and use him to pull him along and hopefully get back up the field. I believe that's Tripp in 13th position, just come into the pit lane. Yes, indeed, there he is, finishing P2 in the previous round. It's Bogue France just going through the picture, and I believe that's Cameron that's just gone through as well. So Tripp rejoins the circuit back in 16th position. Speedy Go behind. I believe Speedy Go was kind of in around 11th, 12th position when we last saw him. So yeah, they're back out onto the circuit in the top 16. He'll get in a load of positions when other drivers in front go and serve their mandatory stop as well.
Yeah, we'll just stick with this battle as they come up the hill then, because there's three of them now all in a line. As you say, bit of a come down for Tripp after finishing second last week. What do you think that is? Do you think it's the car setup, or is it just the fact the nature of this circuit can sometimes catch out some people?
I think a little bit of both. I think he was very surprised to actually come away with P2 last week from what he was saying in Discord. And in the driver interview, obviously he was very, very pleased. But I think his actual position currently isn't actually reflective of what Tripp's pace is and his overall net position. Obviously we've still got a number of drivers yet to serve the mandatory stop. If he's got the pace to close up onto the guys up in front, obviously the previous lap that is showing up there on the leaderboard is his in lap. So that's not really going to be representative. We've got Yogurt coming into the pit lane. How long is he going to be stationary for? Potentially to repair some damage, maybe. Not that long.
It was very quick, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was just a quick splash and dash.
So where's he going to come out then? Let's see where, because you said Fubar was the highest one. Where's he now? He's coming round towards the final corner. Yogurt is going to come out, looks like in 9th place. So still inside the top 10 as Zenzik comes around the first corner. So where do you think he can go from here then? Because how many cars ahead of him are still yet to stop? Obviously, we've still got the leaders to pit in as well. I think most of the drivers ahead of him still got to pit now.
Yeah, we've got WMDR Martin, which is the car next up the road, 3.5 seconds. In front of him is As Turbo, he hasn't pitted. Neither has our Season 15 champion, Andrex. His teammate, Alan, still hasn't been into the pits. And then Dynamite Alive is there in 4th position, who was just ahead of Yogurt when we last saw the two battling away. So, yeah, he should be quite comfortably in 5th position when he comes back out. Speedy Go. Very much staring at the back of Trip, who's all over the back of
Cameron, isn't it?
Cameron, yes, it was. I was trying to remember if it was Cameron or something else. Oh, all 3 cars very loose with the rear end going up through Reed Park. Speedy Go especially, and Cameron at the head of the head of this train. You can see the red dot of the sun starting to appear over the horizon now as you come up over Skyline. That's going to get very blinding once that creeps up a little bit higher going into those corners. See Speedy Go all over the back of Trip there, but not able to do anything with it going down down through the S's.
In comes Alan then, one of the leading Mercedes into the pits. How long's he going to be stationary for? Looks like he's adding a little bit of fuel to that car. Still relatively quick though. And As Turbo as well. Oh, did he go in the wrong pit garage then?
No. So all the pit crews and everything that you see here aren't actually aligned with their correct positions, nor are they actually in sync in terms of the timings of the animations and everything, as you can see. Which is a little bit of a shame. It would be very nice if that did all very nicely match up. Obviously that will make the presentation of the whole pit stop sequence look very nice as Tony Clifton goes and slips past Cameron, who looks like he's got quite a bit of damage to the front of that car now. I wonder if he's had a pretty hefty whack with the wall, considering he was ahead of Trip previously, but is now a reasonable distance behind and having lost 3 positions.
I think he ran wide into the final corner because Tony had to sort of swerve over to what is his left-hand side of the track, and then had to get past him down the straight. So I think, unfortunately for Cameron, he made a mistake coming out of that final corner, which has cost him 2 positions now.
That's very unfortunate. I also saw a rear wing as well, also on the inside of turn 2. Whoa, Cameron getting very loose. I think he may have just about kept it out of the wall there, but he's got some quite significant damage to his car. Fortunately, the next car behind, Nidlap, is 22 seconds off behind, so he's not really in any immediate threat of losing the position. But obviously, once he does come into the pit lane, like Moo has just done from 3rd position, he'll obviously end up dropping down through the field. How long is Moo going to be stationary for? Looks like it's just going to be a quick splash and dash. He's back rolling and underway. He's got Andrex coming up behind him and passing him out on the circuit. So Andrex up into 4th position now. His highest position that he's been so far this season. But yeah, doesn't quite have the pace of the top, certainly the top 3, possibly the top 5 drivers here in this race.
Then in 7th place, he's up behind WNDR Martin, and we'll be looking to get past the Lamborghini, which hasn't pitted yet. But he's still going well in that car, though. You know, you would expect he's probably going to end up probably in about 5th place when WMD and Andrex pit as well. He's doing a pretty good job at the moment, though, isn't he? He's still having a look, though, at Martin.
Yeah, I think he's very much aware of Martin's pace. Sjogger was a good 2.4 seconds quicker on the previous lap. Having a look down the inside, coming over the mountain section, you really got to pick your moment if you're going to try and make him pass coming through here, and the other driver really has to kind of comply and facilitate the pass as well. You'll get much later on the brakes coming up over Skyline. I think this probably isn't a great circuit to be driving the pad on, especially in comparison to the wheel. I imagine it's a lot more difficult to actually thread it between the walls, whereas the wheel you have a much easier time. It's probably contributing to the pace difference, but jump back up to the leaders now. Strongest Avenger still half a second off the back of Lumi, hasn't let the Lamborghini pull away, still very much keeping that pressure.
Yeah, jump to them because there was less than a tenth between them as they came through the final corner. So I don't know whether that was the timing screens a little bit out of sync, or the fact that Strongest Avenger had really close up. It looks as if now he's got that car in the working conditions that he likes, and he's all over the back of Lumi now. And of course these two have still yet to make their pit stop, of course.
Yep, I imagine they'll probably try and go a little bit deeper into the race before diving to the pit lane, as they've got no real reason, unless they make too many skirts of the wall and kisses like that, where they pick up damage, and that starts affecting their lap time. Even Strongest Avenger just clipping the wall there, coming up through Salmon Park. Much cleaner for both drivers coming through McPhillamy, although both of them wiggling around as they're going up over the crest. And Strongest Avenger with 2 wheels on the grass, managing to recover and bring that one back in. We do have some lap traffic up in front. I think that was the kinky one in the Audi R8, but with the nice long straight now coming up, should be a fairly good opportunity for the kinky one to pull over and lift out and let these 2 drivers through without impeding or impacting their race.
Looks like Jorgic has got past WMD Martin. That's crucial for Jorgic. He's now back up into 6th place. What do you think? Probably set for a 5th place here, isn't he, after Andrex makes his pit stop? And
oh, I think that was Martin heading off into the wall. I think, yes indeed he was. That's really unfortunate. It's got Fubar coming up behind. Manages to stay out of the way as he's rejoining onto the circuit. It was fairly close, but yeah, just caught him going very, very loose coming up over Skyline. And he'll be frustrated with that. Doesn't look like there's too much damage on the front of the Lamborghini, but we know that the spectator modes aren't always 100% representative of what the drivers are actually experiencing in terms of their damage. So try and keep a close eye on Martin and see if he dives into the pit lane, but that's going to cost him a number of positions, I am sure.
Box fight here, Kiranik and Bosch France, and it looks like Bosch France has finally dispensed with the Audi down the back straight and well before the chicane. So another one, Bosch France looking to make his way back up the leaderboard. Did run a little bit wide there into the chicane, and it looks as if that was that WMDR Martin heading for the pit lane?
Yes, it was. Yeah, so he's probably in to repair the damage that he picked up from that contact with the wall, and see how long he actually remains stationary for. No, not very long at all. So maybe he didn't pick up all that much damage.
Couldn't have been that bad, could it?
The M6 slowing quite a bit down on the inside up against the pit wall there. Jobs looking very slow, quite a bit of damage to the front of his car. Accelerating away. WMDR Martin comes back out onto the circuit, not in 26th position, but instead in 17th place. Jobs a lap down. Obviously Martin picking up the slipstream. A little bit of tow coming up towards turn 2. But yeah, it's unfortunate to see that Falcon BMW crawling around the circuit at a reduced speed.
Here's Trip then, and he is right up behind Tony Clifton. And is that... I can't see. Is that a lap car ahead of them or not? I'm not sure if it is, but if it is, there's a good 3-car scrap here. Let's just see who it
It's
is.
Speedy Go.
It is Speedy Go, so it is a genuine 3-car scrap here for 14th place.
Yeah, I
As
think
the sun comes over the horizon now. How much of a hindrance will that be for them as they go over the top of the hill?
quite a big hindrance. So you'll probably come into your braking zone, get on the brakes, and just as you go up over the crest, you then get blinded by a bright yellow light. So that will be quite a distraction for a number of drivers, and just also seeing that Trip, the 208.7 the previous lap, I think made a mistake, and it's probably cost him the 2 positions because he was at the head of this train previously. You can hear the Ginetta bouncing off the rev limiter coming down into the braking zone for the chase there. Tony Clifton closing up onto the back, obviously coming through the corner. Speedy Girl is able to maintain a bit of distance. Now jumping to Anton, hunting down middle lap. This is battle for 18th position. We haven't seen too much of these two drivers. We saw them both pit pretty earlier on in the race. Anton's got that 10-second penalty. He's in the slipstream at the moment, pulling out of that with the slingshot, slipping on past the Lamborghini. He's going to be on the inside, coming through the right-handed kink. Stays off that inside curb, which is crucial because clipping that can quite easily unsettle the car and pitch it into a spin. But that was relatively easy move there for Anton. He didn't really have to work too hard for that. As Jobs is into the pit lane, no doubt repairing quite a bit of damage on that BMW, I think.
Yeah, stationary for quite a while there, isn't he? Shame, really, for the only BMW left in the race. So, let's go back to this battle then. Looks like still there, Tony, just behind Speedy Go, but it looks like the gap's just opened up a little bit now.
Yeah, the Ginetta putting its strengths to work, opening up that gap, pulling away from the Renault behind. Tony just staying calm and measured, coming down through the S's, just threading the way between the barriers, getting close but not too close. That's start to panic too much, bringing the car down into second gear for the Forest Elbow. And they look quite nice and tidy. Looks like he's closed up a little bit, and he's going to be very much in the slipstream here. So riding on board in the roof camera, see the speed difference starting to close up. Peeling out of the slipstream, possibly a little bit early, trying to show his nose early, but Speedy Go keeps that door fairly closed, although Tony Clifton having a look to the inside, a little bit of contact between the two. Speedy Go managing to gather the car back up as the rear was rotating around there from that little brush between the two cars. They hold their positions for the moment. This is going to allow Trip to close back up onto the rear of these two guys, but they remain as they were, with Speedy Go in 14th, Tony Clifton in 15th, having a look to the inside, coming into the first turn. Speedy Go slotting in underneath to pick up the slipstream. To come up the mountain straight now, he'll be looking to try and get that position back coming into the second corner, and trying to get back ahead again for coming up over the top of the mountain in that Ginetta.
The leaders are closing back up again now. Strongest Avenger was nearly a second, well, he was over a second behind Lumi about a lap or so ago, but they are in amongst some traffic now, and he's managed to bring that gap back down to 0.3 of a second. It's really ebbing and flowing between these two. It's going to be really who blinks first for the pit stops.
Yep, and you just saw the lap times change. So on the previous lap, well, actually 2 laps ago, Lumi did a 2:04. And Strongest Avenger did a 2:05, but as you mentioned, with the traffic, Lumi got held up by a fair amount with a 2:07.0, and then Strongest Avenger 2 seconds quicker with a 2:04.9. Strongest Avenger, oh, that was very, very close there with the back marker. Lumi a flash of lights letting them know that they're coming, so they were going side by side. There was just about enough space for 3 cars to go 3 wide, but that must have been a slight puckering moment for Lumi in that Lamborghini and Aston Martin sandwich.
I think now the traffic is going to play a big part in this race, and it is helping Strongest Avenger stick with Lumi so far. And he's just dropped back a little bit now as they've gone to the top of the hill. He's just going to have to stay there, be patient, keep consistent, because it does look like Lumi has the pace advantage. It's just where the Strongest Avenger can take advantage through the traffic, although he's lost a lot of time there. He's now nearly 2 seconds behind. So on pure pace, it looks as if Lumi has the edge in this race so far. Look at the gap he's pulled already.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. I think Strongest might start to be struggling with the tyres potentially. Obviously, with the sun coming up now over the horizon, it's going to start heating up the track surface. If he's on the softs, they're only good up until about 95 degrees in terms of tyre temperature, and then beyond that, you're into pretty severe understeer territory. They just don't bite into the tarmac quite as much as we see Stephen Curry. I believe our lead coordinator again for a second season running. He was a lead coordinator last season. I'm not too sure if he is doing it this season or not. I believe that he is. Yes, indeed he is. Just seeing the one of his posts there on the forum that's up on my one of my other screens. But yeah, he's down there in 19th position at the moment in that yellow Lamborghini with the blue accents.
Oh, that's going to be a tight one if Bosch fans are going to send that up the inside. Wow, that was really, really close. But now, has he got a good run on Zenzik as they come onto the back straight? He needs to get this done before they hit the right-hand kink. They're side by side as they come down the back straight, and he has got ahead, Jess, but the Audi will still be there as they come towards the chicane.
Yep, just about managing to eke ahead. Audi's not quite going to come back at him under braking. Good move there by Boge to get back up into that 9th position. No doubt he's going to start pulling away as Jobs is still parked there in the pit box. I think it might be his second trip actually through the pit lane, as we saw him in there earlier. So maybe he's had another skirt with the wall somewhere along the line. But yeah, the two drivers we were just watching coming through the foreground of the picture, and then also As Turbo goes through as well. As Turbo in 11th position now. So BMW comes back out onto the track behind that what's very soon to be a three-way fight.
Yeah, two Audis head in. Is that the McLaren? Yes, it is the McLaren of As Turbo. Just trying to keep an eye on this now. We got Jack Game 88 who's come in for his pit stop. He comes out in 17th place. He's ahead of Anton, the man who beat him to the Tier 2 championship last season. But the Lamborghini running okay in 17th. There's As Turbo. Still just over a second now behind Zenzik. This is the closest battle on the track at the moment. They're all fairly spread out now. It seems to be this group. It's over around 9th, 10th, 11th. All within a couple of seconds of each other. It's basically now about who makes the least mistakes, I suppose, and who can keep it consistent.
Yeah, definitely. As Turbo doing a nice job of just threading the McLaren through the walls there. Coming up over the top, getting the car slowed down quite nicely and hooked into the apex. Zenzik managing to eat the gap out to over a second now. It was 0.8 seconds previously, it's now 1.3, so he's gained a half a second coming up over the mountain section. But As Turbo is starting to close that gap down a little bit on the straights. So possibly just a difference in setup. Maybe Zenzik is running more aero focused setup, whereas As Turbo has probably tried to reduce some of the aero and drag and try and maintain some of that straight line speed. Just the difference in philosophies and approaches there, making the difference in lap time as we see Big Cliff into the pit lane once again here on lap 19.
Yeah, another one of the Lamborghinis into the pit lane. There's Tony Clifton now trying to get onto the tail of Kiranek. So there's this group of about, well, it was about 3 or 4 cars, still about 3 cars. That's probably the closest fight we've got at the moment on. As Moo is now just starting to close up on Andrex, who still hasn't pitted yet. He's up in 4th. Wonder how late he's going to leave his pit stop till. He's on lap 21 of 37.
Yeah, I said earlier on that that one of the drivers was on lap 19, but he's a couple of laps down. The leaders are on lap 21,
Yeah,
lap 22 now.
apologies.
Yeah, for Lumi. That's just ticked over. The indicator there at the top is obviously for the driver that we're currently watching. So Moo, as you say, still hunting down Andrex at the moment. I imagine that Andrex is going to probably go quite far into this race before going to the pit stop, probably basically up until the point that the fuel tank on that Mercedes is pretty much dry, and then come in for the splash and dash. We've got 1 second penalty there for strongest Avenger as well as Speedy Go. Anton still with a 10-second penalty, and then the other B Cliff also had a 10-second penalty as well. So just 4 drivers with some time penalties against their names. Otherwise, the rest of them managing to keep their noses clean so far.
It's Tony then having a go at Kiranek down the back straight, and he has got past the Audi. Must have had a good run onto that back straight as he runs a little bit over the grass on the exit. But good move. He's now up into 12th place. Going pretty strongly though in that Renault still.
Yep, seems to be holding some reasonable pace. 207.8 on the previous lap. Obviously a little bit of traffic and some overtaking as well. Now he's got 7 to 7.5 seconds to Turbo up in front, so he can stretch his legs a little bit more. Try and focus on closing that gap down to the McLaren in front of him. Whilst that all the while trying to drop Kiranek behind, who I think still yet to serve his mandatory pit stop. So you see Speedy Go in the background there as well. There he is in his Ginetta. Bringing the car round, all skirting the walls. That's going to be into the wall again at the cutting there on the outside. Hopefully he didn't pick up any damage from that, and it's just a case of scraping away some of the paint down the right hand side of the car. Oh, and again, just kissing the walls. The Ginettas do seem to be moving and wiggling around quite a fair amount here on this circuit. They've probably reduced their wing angles as much as possible to try and get as much straight line speed. Oh, that's going to be heavy into the wall. That is big. That's a big impact there for Speedy Go. He's managed to get it back onto the circuit with, well, I was going to say without hindering people, but he did hinder people. Tripp was there trying to slip on past and had to get hard onto the brakes and slot in behind, but no doubt Speedy Go is going to be frustrated with that. He's going to have quite a bit of damage. He's going to be very slow on the straight. In fact, he almost goes round into a half spin, clips the wall on the inside there in the dipper, and that's now put him right under pressure from the 2 Lamborghinis behind. There's also a third car, one of the BMW Audi R8 there as well, as WMDR Martin slips on through. I imagine Tripp will slip on through as well before they get to the braking zone, although Speedy Go, he does lift out of it and lets them go on through, and yeah, manages to get the car slowed down and through the chase as well. But yeah, not a good lap for that Ginetta driver.
Jinxed him, didn't we? Saying the Ginettas had been moving all over the road, and then it was the first major incident we've had. Yogurt's still going well in 6th, but I'm surprised really that didn't do more damage. I would have thought he could have really been in the pits after that incident.
Yeah, definitely. It looked to be quite heavy impacts, both at the top of the mountain there. We saw him break away and get a little bit loose after a commentator's cursed him, and then again he clipped the inside wall coming through turn 18. The dipper has clipped that with the nose, so I imagine he's got a mix of a little bit of suspension damage and possibly some aero damage as well. See, he's struggling to hold on to the back of the guys in front a little bit, although I think the 2 drivers were a little bit cautious there going into the cutting, and Speedy Go, probably still going full send, was able to close up a bit, and too much send there coming through Reed Park, again hitting the wall quite hard.
Seems to be overdriving that car a little bit, doesn't he? Seems very squirmy as he's going through the corners in desperation really to hang on to the back of those two that have just passed him. But yeah, he's struggling now as he's coming down the hill, so maybe that damage is hindering him a little bit more than we thought initially, but may not be enough to get him into the pit lane, so he could still salvage 16th out of this. He's got a good gap back to Jack Game anyway, who's some 14 seconds behind, so it may not be too bad for him to keep going as long as he can keep it on the track.
He's still got quite a way to go though, another 14 laps. The pit lane here is actually quite short, just all depends on how much time he's going to lose actually trying to repair the damage that he's picked up on the kart. But Trip there down in 15th position. Still a few drivers in front to make the mandatory pit stop, but I think he's got a few cars to actually try and overtake. I think he got robbed a little bit, getting caught up behind Speedy Go. Still continuing on, you can see him there in the background. But yeah, he lost the position to WMDR Martin, getting caught up behind the Ginetta coming onto the straight. Martin just managed to nip in there early and effectively push in into the queue and
sideways down the hill, and this has given Moo now a bit of a chance on the back of the defending champion as they come down towards the right hand kink. Just caught that as they went past the Lamborghini, and again the pair of them did well to hang on to those cars, but not close enough into the chicane to have a go. Goes a little bit deep on the brakes, but manages to slow down well. That's not a good exit though for Andrex.
Nope. Moo's trying to pick a position to go to the inside. He's managed to do it this time. Also get the car slowed down for the apex as well. Andrex is going to hang very close onto the back of Moo and actually almost close up and make contact coming into the braking zone. Moo going a little bit defensive. A bit shy off the apex there, but holds onto the position for now. But Andrex is going to have to slipstream coming up mountain straight here. See the straight line speed difference between the two cars. Obviously Andrex with the slipstream and the slingshot. It's actually going to bump draft the Moo and give him a little bit of a push to go a little bit quicker. Moo almost running deep and into the outside wall there. Looked like he was going to be jumping. Looked like he was jumping on the brakes a little bit late, but managed to keep it out of the wall. Possibly could also be some latency issues going on here on my end as well. The car is moving and warping around a little bit, but Andrex holding on to that 5th position for now, although that was quite a big lift there, going through Griffin's Mount and Reed Park. Just trying to make sure plays the cautious game and keeps it out of the walls to try and keep the car clean, because it looks like he's missing a headlight. But here is your two race leaders, back within half a second again.
Yeah, it seems to be ebbing and flowing. Strongest Avenger again was, nearly 2 seconds behind a couple of laps ago. Whether they've hit some traffic or Lumi's made a mistake in the last lap or so, because Strongest Avenger is now right on the back of him. Of course, he's got that 1 second penalty. So if he wants to win this race, he's going to have to get ahead and hope he can pull that gap. But he is an awful lot closer as they go into turn 1. But I've noticed a couple of times we've watched these two, Lumi seems to pick up a decent amount of speed and pace as they go towards just over the top of the hill and then back down, and that's where the gap sort of creeps out a little bit as they lap one of the Audis. But it's hard to tell really what's going on between these two so far. But Strongest Avenger keeping the pressure on, and as long as you're there, as long as you're behind the guy, right behind the guy you're racing, anything can happen.
Yep, definitely. It seems that Strongest Avenger is playing a very, very patient. Spent a number of laps behind the Lamborghini now, who clobbers the wall coming up through Reed Park. That's going to be encouraging for Strongest Avenger, and he's right there underneath the rear wing. As again he makes contact with the wall, has to get hard on the brakes a little bit for a moment there, just in case Lumi ended up swapping ends. Looked very close to the Lamborghini, breaking away and spearing off to the right, but both drivers doing a good job of preventing that from rolling into a pretty spectacular crash between those two. It's dropped strongest off the back of Lumi by a few tenths of a second as well. But back onto the straights once again. That Aston Martin in that slipstream is going to start closing once more. So you see the gap ticking down from 6 tenths of a second, now down to under half a second. Now we're down to 4 tenths of a second, heading down towards 3 tenths of a second as they both get onto the brakes at pretty much the same point or same time as each other, but Lumi a good 20-30 meters up in front, obviously able to brake a fair bit later in that Lamborghini. Strongest Avenger just showing his nose in the mirrors coming into the final corner as Lumi does a very nice shallow drift there through that final turn. Holds onto the car. They both go across the line with near enough identical lap times, bar 0.02 of a second between the pair of them.
Yeah, pair of them be thinking about the championship as well. Strongest Avenger, of course, started off with a clean sweep at Daytona, but that could have been disastrous for the pair of them. So didn't want to take any risks trying to go around the outside of the Lambo when it made the mistake. So fair driving from the pair of them. They both kept out of the wall, kept out of each other, more importantly. So pretty good racing at the moment. And now coming up again onto some back markers now. This is probably not where Lumi wanted to encounter that Lamborghini up ahead as they come over the top. This will keep Strongest Avenger interested.
Yeah, definitely still in the way at the moment, but this is the next best opportunity to get out of the way. Lumi having a look to the inside, forcing the Lamborghini to go out wide. That was a little bit hard there on that back marker, although I do also think that the back marker probably could have lifted out before they got to McPhillamy's, and that was the BMW M6 parked in the wall facing the wrong way on the driver's left. There he is. Oh, significant damage. He needs to be careful here. He doesn't move backwards, he does the right thing and remains stationary. And he's now unfortunately retired back to the pit lane as Jobs. He's out of the race. So our second retiree, coming from 26th position, we now pick up Kiewanek, who's less than half a second off the back of WMDR Martin, and Tripper's dropped off to 5 seconds behind. I'm guessing Tripper's had an absolute nightmare on the previous lap and potentially this lap as well.
Yeah, it's a shame for Jobs. Looked like he'd been having a few problems, and he'd been into the pits a few times, so he's unfortunately retired. But yeah, Strongest Avenger and Lumi keeping it close. They're still there together. As you say, it was a bit hard on the back marker, but these two are racing for the race win. And he looks the Strongest Avenger. Doesn't want to be too risky with any moves. Just needs to be a little bit closer out of either turn 1 or onto the back straight to have a go. But that Lambo looks nice and planted as it goes through, especially the downhill sections that I've been noticing so far.
Yeah, it's been looking pretty good and pretty stable, as you say. I think Lumi probably just pushing the car a fair bit harder, where Strongest Avenger is just kind of letting the car do the work and letting the lap time come to him. So again, Lumi wiggling around, taking liberties with the track limits, dipping the wheels onto the dirt and the grass, really pushing the Lamborghini out front there, where Strongest Avenger just looks so much calmer and more in control, as you say, just not moving around quite as much going through the turns, and just seems to be pretty good coming down through the...
Oh, Lumi's got a 3-second penalty.
He does indeed. It's a very good spot there, picking that one up. Did that just come up from that lap just then?
Yes, it did. It turned red as they went over the top of the hill. Now, well, Strongest Avenger probably won't know. Oh, it will. Will it come up on his UI?
Yeah, he will see the penalty that he has if he's got the standings up in the top left.
Then
activated.
he doesn't have to risk this at all, then, does he? All he has to do is stay within touching distance, and the race is his.
Yep, it's 2 seconds that he needs to stay within, because obviously he's got the 1 second penalty himself as well. But hopefully, whilst he has that in the back of his mind, I hope that he is still going to try and make the move if you possibly can to get that first position, as Kiewanik is in the pit lane, just heading towards the pit exit. Strongest Avenger in pretty solid position here, coming off the first turn, less than 0.3 of a second. So accelerating up the hill, he's going to have the slipstream and the toe as well. Will he be able to slingshot on past? I imagine Lumi's going to hold the inside line and force Strongest Avenger to the outside, but makes it very tight just as they're coming into the braking zone. Not quite a car width there, so Strongest holds station behind for the moment. And once again, follow the Lamborghini up over the top of the hill. Come through the cutting now. But yeah, this must be really encouraging for Strongest Avenger with the current position. Hopefully we'll continue to see this fight play out over the remainder of the 8 laps that we have here in this second round.
They're both pushing it now. They both clipped the wall on the outside there as they came over the rise. Of course, Lumi will know he has to make up. Well, he has to make up over 2 seconds. The Strongest Avenger, of course, has to stay within 2 seconds now, as they both have time penalties. But you've got to keep your head clear. Got to keep consistent, keep it smooth, don't make too many mistakes. But I think these two, they're going to remain locked together. Strongest Avenger, if there's an opportunity, he'll go for it, I imagine, being a racer. But you can't afford to take too many risks. And of course, another win put him in pole position for the championship already.
Yeah, I'm very interested with how this is playing out at the moment. It seemed like the pressure was all very much on Lumi's shoulders, but this lap by Strongest Avenger has been quite a bit more rough around the edges. Hasn't seemed quite as calm and collected as the lap before it. And I'm wondering if Lumi, with his very obvious approach of trying to really push the Lamborghini and push it hard and try and get every bit of performance and wring the neck out of that car as much as possible, is starting to apply some pressure back onto Strongest Avenger's shoulders to try and keep with the current race leader. I mean, he's doing it at the moment, but he did drop to over 0.8 of a second coming onto the Conrad straight on the previous lap, but traffic again not working in Lumi's favour. It's going to frustrate him a little bit here. Does just about get out of the way of Strongest Avenger, but he had to have a pretty big lift there coming into the cutting, and now that gap is lurking in and around a second. And I imagine that's quite a bit of a relief for Lumi after potential danger from the back marker coming up onto this mountain section. And yeah, the pressure ball is being battered back and forth between these two cars.
How much is the wake and the dirty air affecting Strongest Avenger as well? He knows now he has to stay within 2 seconds, but it's done well to keep that car within. As you see now, see through this downhill section, look at the gap that Lumi has pulled. It's now nearly out to 2 seconds, but we'll probably see Strongest Avenger come back a little bit now as they go down the straight. I can't tell who's going to win this at the moment.
Yeah, it's very difficult to call. Although, judging by this lap and the pace that Lumi has, if he's just suddenly turned up the wick, he might be able to eke out the 2 seconds that he needs. He's very close to doing it. So just the straights here and that straight line speed of the Aston Martin being the saving grace for Strongest Avenger, allowing him to close the gap back up. As you can see, just in the corners, he's losing out a 1/10 of a second or two here or there. That's just swinging the pendulum back towards Lumi once again. But yeah, these GT3 cars are relatively aero-dependent. They have a tremendous amount of mechanical grip though as well. So even when they are following in the wake of another car and they're in that dirty air, it doesn't really affect them too much. It's one of the reasons why GT3 car racing is so great, is because they can follow so closely. All the cars are very much recognisable from the road cars, supercars and hypercars that older generations and younger generations admire and aspire to one day own. But of course, with extra bodywork and fairings, the cars look like they're turned up to 11, and they produce some fantastic sounds as well. But yeah, it's It's really only the straights you tend to see a benefit being in the slipstream. And although there is some aero wash, it's not as significant as you would experience in an open wheeler, for example.
Yeah, definitely. I think Lumi made a slight mistake because he lost over a second there as they came over the top of the hill again. But see, downhill, I imagine this is where he'll pull out the gap again. The strongest Avenger, getting a bit sideways as he came through that for the second S's, I think it was, down to 0.8 of a second. And it'll continue the trend down this back straight. He'll probably start to close up now with the slipstream. So he's doing all he needs to at the moment, but he is looking more ragged, as you say. Just seems to be trying to throw the car around a little bit now to keep in touch as it comes down to just under 0.4 of a second.
It's very interesting, this this tennis match with the pressure ball being battered back and forth between the two cars. Seems very much like the ball's back in Lumi's court, and he's the one who's feeling it at the moment. So the gap is now back to half a second, as you say. And we've got the back marker of Tripp, who's back into 14th position after a couple of other cars have been through the pit lane. I don't think Andrex has still been through the pits. He might have done. His teammate Alan is not too far behind, about 10 seconds. You see Lumi just picking up the slipstream. Strongest Avenger following on through, but Lumi moves back over to the left-hand side of the track to take the slipstream away from Strongest Avenger and give it back to the back marker, which will make would have made it a little bit more difficult for Strongest Avenger to slip on past. But I imagine Tripp, with a wise head on his shoulders, probably lifted out and let Strongest take the racing line, as we saw. But the gap back within half a second. Things looking very close. We've got just 5 more laps here in this race. Things are very, very hot and toasty in this little dual oven that we see here.
Yeah, he stayed well with him there all the way through. They come down the hill again. As you say, it is very much a tennis match. It's back and forth as Strongest Avenger taps the wall on the inside. As they come down. And that's a spin! And Lumi spun it! Lumi has spun it! And reverses straight into the path of Tripp. And he's lost second place as well. Well, the pressure cooker got to Lumi and he has lost the lead. I can't believe it.
Yep, just one little mistake there, coming down in through the dipper, the rear end of the car just rotating round. Pretty dangerous rejoin. Tripp had to take avoiding action and end up going quite hard into the wall. Hopefully he hasn't suffered too much damage from that, but as you say, Dynamite Alive managed to slip on through up into second position. There he is. His teammate has gone on through. Hopefully Lumi hasn't picked up any damage from that, although he looks quite slow in the background. Now he's accelerating away. He's diving into the pit lane now. This could be very costly as he's bouncing over the grass and gravel there upon the pit entry. How long is he going to be stationary for? How many positions is he going to end up losing here in this race?
Wow, we didn't expect that, did we? But they've been driving so well, the pair of them, and he is away. Who was that coming in behind him? That's Tripp. He may have had some damage as well. I don't think he's very happy with what happened there. But that's pretty much robbed us of the fight at the front. Although it's now down to whether Dynamite Alive, who is closing a little bit on Strongest Avenger, maybe he can put some pressure on.
Yeah, potentially. I'm actually quite surprised that Lumi's come back out ahead of Mo. There he is. 5 seconds down the road. Well, actually, Lumi hasn't made his mandatory pit stop, I don't think. So, but neither has Strongest Avenger. So they'll need to be both coming into the pits sometime reasonably soon. It seemed like the pit stop was in and around, 20 to 25 seconds. There is Jack Game, and I think that was Andrex there that we see now in the background of the picture, slipping on past. Jack Game down in 18th position. He's got Enton's 1.7 seconds up the road, and Tripp has come back out onto the circuit behind, now in 19th position. But yeah, no doubt Tripp will feel pretty hard done by the incident there on the previous lap. I wonder if that one will end up being presented to the stewards after this race.
So it's down to this man now to give us a race, I suppose. And he'll be fairly happy to be running in second place. He span in Daytona, didn't he, and fought his way back up through the field. So this will be a little feather in his cap if he can put some pressure on Strongest Avenger, who he can see the gap is only 2.8 seconds.
That's come down a fair amount on the previous lap as well. There you can see 1 second. I was going to say it was a good 3-4 seconds previously as they were going through the picture. Just dipping the wheel out onto the dirt on the outside of turn 1 there, but that shouldn't affect his pace and the run coming up the hill too much. So Strongest Avenger will be pulling away on the straight with the power of that Aston Martin. Coming into the corners, that's where this Lamborghini is going to make up an awful lot of the time as he got a little bit loose and skirted the wall on the outside of Quarry Corner. I think he managed to get away with that one though. Gap still lurking in around 3 seconds, but he just needs to get within a second because as you've just... Oh, that's a big mistake there. Just not quite paying attention. Need to be switched on. That's going to cost him half a second to 6 tenths. But yeah, he just needs to get within a second of Strongest Avenger to take the race win. I wonder if he's actually trying to clear a slowdown penalty because he is slowing down quite a tremendous amount and he was very wide on the exit of turn 2.
He realised at that point, didn't he, that he was in with a chance of winning this race, and he still is, but now he's got to pick the pace up. He's now back to over 5 seconds behind. So, still plenty to play for, but yeah, just pushed a little bit too hard, a bit like his teammate did, and made a mistake, and it could end up being a costly one.
It could, but that slowdown as well, when Dynamite Alive comes into the pit lane, could put him in the firing line of his teammate Lumi. So as we were saying, the gap, or the time spent in the pit lane, is somewhere in the region of 20 to 25 seconds. It's 26, 27 seconds to Lumi as it stands right now. It was at 25, but I think Lumi's had a bit of a slow moment coming up over the mountain. Not diving into the pits this time round. I imagine that both these this leading pair will go to possibly the last moment that they can to make their mandatory pit stop before serving that one. Likewise with Andrex, so I think it's still yet to come into the pit lane.
Let's have a look at some of the battles going on through the field. Is WMDR Martin. He's just behind Zenzik. It's the Lamborghini chasing down the Audi. And Kieran behind is also just behind Speedigo as well. These are the two closest on track fight at the moment. As Kieran gets in the slipstream coming down the straight at the start of the lap. Not seen much of the Ginettas, but quite rightly we've been keeping an eye on the battle at the front of the field. But let's give these guys some airtime, shall we? Let's see what these guys can do.
Yep, Speedy going a little bit deep there. Coming into turn 3 and 4. Kiwanik had a little bit of a sniff, but thought better of it. Decided to follow him on through for the moment. Leaving a reasonable gap to about half a second to a second to the Ginetta, probably seeing as a little bit loose and skirting some walls, and instead just waiting for the mountain section to try and come back at the Ginetta. That's going to be his best opportunity for an overtaking manoeuvre. He just needs to close up a little bit. Coming down the other side of the mountain here is Stephen Curry into the pit lane again. I think this is the second time coming through. It's in 19th position.
That looks like a lot of damage on that Lamborghini. It was crabbing as it came down the pit lane. So maybe he's had an off somewhere.
I imagine so. Who's that just coming through the picture there? Is that WMDR Martin and Zenzik side by side down the start-finish straight? Battle for 12th position. Zenzik holds it at the moment. Strongest Avenger into the pit lane, as well as Dynamite Alive, both of them.
Now then, it's all down to who's got the quickest pit stop. Who's going to have to put in the most fuel? Dynamite Alive is away. So now his Strongest Avenger.
Or Strongest, I was going to say Strongest is coming out right in and amongst some back markers as well. This could be pretty critical. He has managed to get out ahead of them. As they're drawing up alongside each other, the Audi having a look to the inside. Koenig is going to need to make a clean move here to avoid hindering Dynamite Alive behind, and he does do so. He takes that 14th position away from Speedy Goat. There is Dynamite Alive in the background of the picture. 3 seconds between himself and the race leader, and we've got 3 racing laps left to go as Andrex has now entered the pit lane as well.
He's going to keep that position in the top 10. You said that's where he would be, and that's looks like roughly where he's going to be. He's come out in 8th place.
Yep. Here is Jorgek. Not too far off the back of Mo. 0.8 of a second between the two. On the previous lap, Jorgek with a 2:04.5. That is some seriously quick pace, especially in comparison to Mo's 2:06.1. Almost 2 whole seconds quicker on the previous lap, and you can see he's gaining coming up over this mountain section here. A little bit of lag on my end, I think. Car's warping around, but half a second between these two drivers. It's battle for 4th position, so just outside the podium. Jorgek closing up, under braking there at the apex, coming through the dipper. Although the Lamborghini is going to have that straight line speed and start to eke out a car length or so. Although actually Jorgek is closing in. Yeah, you're right. That gap at the top of the screen there, closing down. We can see it visibly now as well as he's bouncing off the rev limiter coming into the chase. Mo moves over to the inside to defend that inside line, but Jorgek going for the switchback. A little bit of warping between the two cars there. Jorgek right up on the rear wing of the Lamborghini in front. Just needs a nice, good, smooth run coming through this final corner here. Gets a good run onto the start-finish straight to begin lap 37. The final lap between these two drivers. Have a sniff down the inside. Coming into the first turn, there's contact between the two. Mo gets sent round. Jorgek does slow down, and I think we'll probably let Mo go back on through again, as I think the contact was very much on his shoulders, and indeed he does. Just the slightest brush between the two guys there. I think Mo was trying to facilitate a little bit of room on the inside, as oh dear, it's that Sinterfell there on the inside with quite some substantial damage to his car. Indeed it is, down in 25th position. He is not having a good time trying to bring that car over the top of the mountain section. Looks like he's got some pretty hefty suspension damage, but oh, getting hard into the wall. The rear
wing has gone as well. He's had a big off somewhere.
He most certainly has, but he's doing a pretty good job of staying out the way of all the other drivers. Dynamite Alive, 3 seconds off the back of Strongest Avenger. He just needs to keep a calm, level head, the Strongest, in order to hold on to the race win. Jorgek all over the back of Mo, coming up over the mountain section, trying to close in. Mo with a slight mistake coming through the S's there. It's allowed the Ginetta to close up a little bit more. Strongest Avenger coming in down towards the chase section now for the final time here on this final lap of round 2, clipping the inside curb, not unsettling the car though. Drives and powers off the corner. He'll be coming into the final turn for one last time. The finish line is now in sight. The checkered flag waves as one of the back markers pulls over to the side of the circuit to make their race a fair bit shorter. And Strongest Avenger comes away with the race win here in round 2. Dynamite Alive across the line, just ahead of his teammate Lumi in 3rd position. There he is after the mistake that he made earlier on. Jorgek's managed to get up into 4th place. Mo has dropped back down with some pretty heavy damage to the front of his car at the chase section. What happened there between the two drivers, that was obviously off screen. Didn't know whether there was contact between the two or whether Mo just made a mistake and went hard into the wall. We see Sinfandel there crawling to the line and comes across it now. as Mo comes home in 5th position. Alan weaving across the circuit. He'll pick up 6th place, trying to avoid the cars in front. Gives a heavy bump to Mo in the Lamborghini, who came across his nose. There is Fubar. He came home in 7th position after being up in P4 earlier on at the start of the race. Andrex will come home. He'll be pretty happy with P8 there for his first race of the season. Bogue France comes home in a well-deserved P9. Tony Clifton, he'll be next across the line in P10. Obviously, they're not the next car. There's some back markers in and amongst these guys, but yeah, Tony Clifton picking up that final top 10 position. As Turbo with the flash of the lights as he comes across the line in 11th place. A better race for him than what he had last time out in Daytona when he came home in 18th. WMDR Martin just coming through the final corner now one last time, wagging that windscreen wiper as he comes. It looked like he was stopping short of the line, but he would have come home in 12th position. Martin, you haven't crossed the line yet. He's going to reverse over the line. That's what he's doing. I see. So Martin comes home in 12th position.
The showman.
Yeah, just rubbing it in Zenzik's face a little bit and a couple of the other drivers around him, but Zenzik was quite far off the back of Martin, so he had the room to do it. But here he comes. To hear a big crunch in the background, and that was your final driver to cross the line. So here it is, your official confirmation of the race results then. Strongest Avenger with that 1 second penalty manages to hold out for the race win with Dynamite alive in 2nd place. Lumi comes home in 3rd position with a 6-second penalty in the end, so he picked up another 3 seconds after where we last left him with his mistake. Yorgurt comes home and he'll be happy with 4th position with Mo there in 5th, Alan in 6th, 7th goes to Fubar, 8th was picked up by Andrex Bogue France in 9th position, and then Tony Clifton rounds out the top 10 as we said earlier. Asturbo picks up 11th with WMDR Martin in 12th. Zemzik finished in 13th position with Kiranik in 14th. Speedy Go in 15th position with Jack Game in 16th. Entomf 17th. Trip came home in 18th. He'll be pretty disappointed with that, but his fortune didn't really go his way here in this race. 19th went to Stephen Curry. Cameron in 20th position with 21st going to the Kinky One, who had a pretty quiet race. 22nd was Nidalat with Luke in 23rd. B. Cliff came home in 24th position with Sintefel in 25th place, the last driver to actually make it to the end, although a few laps down. Jobs retired on lap 23 and Natnat retired on lap 4 very early on in the race in that Ferrari.
Yeah, strongest Avenger, increasing his championship lead. Been pretty much the perfect start for him. Didn't quite get the fastest lap today, but he won't be too bothered about that. He picks up the 50 points for the win and the point for pole position as well. So, been a fairly strong start to the championship.
Yep, and also speaking of the man as well, let's get Strongest Avenger into the commentary box here for an interview. Congratulations, your 2nd race win on the trot. How are you feeling after that one?
Yorkie, thank you. Well, it's pretty great, of course. It was a pretty intense race, absolutely full pace, non-stop, no mistakes, both from Lumi and me. Like, it was really, really intense. I was pretty surprised that we haven't made any major mistakes, like hitting the wall or something like that. It really, really hard. And he made a little mistake and he got a little penalty. So I'm really sorry for him. He deserves this win because he was faster, and I think the only reason I catch him is because of the back markers. They were moving quite nicely, very nice from them, but still he every second lap he would lose half a second or more, and I was getting him there. So unfortunately, he made a little mistake at the end where he spun his car, and for him. But really, really great driving. Congrats for him as well.
Yeah, how did you find the Aston Martin in that race? Were you running the soft tyres, which I know the Aston does tend to favour?
No.
Oh, you were on hards.
Yeah. You can, there's no way they would overheat. So well, the hill is all right when you're going uphill up to the mid hill. The downhill section is the hardest part. There is just no play there. You have to go very carefully. I almost in the first several laps at the last corner on the downhill section. I catch the car somehow, and after that I was even more careful. So I was losing time in the hill, but I was gaining back on the rest of the tracks, so the pace was pretty equal to the Lambos. But yeah, it was manageable.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What was going through your mind when you saw Lumi make that mistake to let you into the lead?
I was just trying not to hit him and avoided, went around his car. And I was just like, oh man, like he really deserved the win. He was really faster, and not a lot, but he was still faster, and he deserved the win. So I'm still kind of sorry for him.
Well, you kept the car on the track. Well done. Really good victory.
Thanks.
Yep, you're looking forward to the next round circuit of the Americas. How do you think the Aston will fare there?
It should be pretty good. Probably again, we're all gonna be equal. The top 4, but it should be pretty good. I mean, if I was expecting quite a bad lap times from this track, and I pulled out something that's really really good, so I think Kota is gonna be even easier. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, we'll look forward to seeing your progress there and see how you fare. But once again, congratulations on the second win and also the pole position. Who actually got the fastest lap of the race? I think it was...
I think Lumi did.
Okay.
Lumi?
Nice.
Yeah.
Let me have a look.
Yeah, Lumi did. Yeah, just by a few hundredths of a second, it seems. So yeah, the point for the fastest lap of the race, shall I say, goes to him. But yeah, another good, strong finish for yourself. So congratulations.
Okay. Thank you guys, and thank you for your commentary. See you next time.
Not a problem. Enjoy the rest
Take
of your
care.
evening.
Have a good evening.
Right, let's get another driver here into the commentary box, and we shall get ourselves WMDR Martin. Just looking through the results, and you came home in 12th position. How were you feeling after that race?
Pretty good. I mean, it's not as high up as I'd have liked to be, but I had some pretty good racing, so I'm happy.
I was gonna say, we saw you mixing it in with with Trip, a number of other drivers, various other battles as well. How did you find keeping the car out the walls? Did you pick up much damage in that race?
I had one half spin into a wall, which is the lap before I pitted, so that was pretty much it when it came to damage. Of course, you tap the wall a couple of times in some areas as well, but if you do it right, you don't get any damage. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we did just about manage to pick up your spin into the wall. So you'll probably hold your hands in shame having seen that in the stream if you watch it back afterwards.
probably.
I'll take that one on the chin for that one, unfortunately. But you had some really good fights. Which was your favourite one throughout the race?
I'm not sure. I mean, I made most of my overtakes on the mountain, and then you had that one crazy moment on the straight that was almost 3 wide. So I'm guessing that moment on the straight, because it had like a build up. Like I'd been catching them for several laps, and you finally get to that moment where you're able to battle, and the guy up front makes a mistake, and it's even crazier.
Good drive, man. Well done.
Yep, congratulations on P12. We'll look forward to seeing how you do next week. Are you looking forward to Circuit of the Americas?
I like that track actually.
Yep, okay. Well, we'll look for a strong result from you there on that one. But yeah, congratulations on P12. We'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I shall see you next week. Okay, let's get one more driver into the commentary box, and that is Stefan Curry, our league coordinator. How are you? That was your first race of the season, if I'm correct.
No, you're not correct.
I'm not correct. God damn it.
I was Prombo in the first race.
Oh.
I just forgot.
Oh.
Damn. Well, you and your name changes. You had some funny names last season as well. So yeah, it's difficult to sometimes pick you out.
Carry or some derivative.
How did that race go for you? Came home in 19th position in the end.
Well, The race itself was near perfect. I didn't have a single mistake or crash or anything until lap 35 or so when I had to pit the second time. But I was taken out in turn 2 pretty heavily. So yeah, bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. It was fun though.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. What happened with turn 2? We unfortunately didn't see it, although seeing a couple of cars pit at the end of the lap, I think we could tell that something happened.
Yeah, someone forgot to brake pretty easy, and I think there were 3 or 4 guys who got caught up in it. Yeah. Actually, the damage wasn't too bad. I guess it was like 20 or 25 seconds, but it was, yeah, you can imagine, undrivable on the mountain.
That's a shame. Matt, did you have anything?
No, not at the moment. But unfortunate if that was the case. It was only a couple of laps from the end of the race, considering you said your race was going pretty well up to that point.
Yeah, as I said, it was an absolutely perfect race, apart from lap 1 and the last lap, or the second to last lap. But yeah, it was fun. I still got into the points, so I'm okay with it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. You looking forward to Circuit of the Americas next week?
To be honest, I have to practice a lot. I haven't done much laps there. Maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 online lobby races. Nothing. That's gonna be interesting. Pretty excited.
Good stuff. Well, hopefully next week you can get a slightly better result, score some more points. But thanks very much for this evening, and thank you very much again for organising the league, or helping with organising the league for this season. Your work is very much appreciated. For your work and time. Hello, you hear me?
Is he gone?
Stephen, you there?
Oh, bad connection. I think he's gone.
Yeah, I think Stefan might have dropped there as things went very quiet, but still very solid stuff from him, and be keeping a close eye on him throughout the remainder of the season. Well, of course, all the other drivers, he's just messaged me as well, and he's saying, yes, he's got mic issues. That's really unfortunate. Apologies for that, Stefan, and apologies for everyone in the chat as well, with things going a little bit quiet, and both of us kind of sat there in the dark, like...
I think we were waiting for him to interject with something then, weren't we?
Yeah, we both were. but that's round 2 wrapped up of season 16. How did you find that one, Matt?
Very enjoyable. It was just a shame that we had those couple of mistakes towards the end. It was gearing up to be a very close finish. I know we had the time penalties, but that was adding to the drama. But Strongest Avenger, he says that Lumi deserved to win the race. Well, you got to stay on the track to win. And he put in the strongest performance. So well done to him. And Dynamite Alive as well, coming through to take second place. But very, very tense race. Very, very enjoyable. So as we look forward to Circuit of the Americas next week.
Yep, definitely will. It's going to be our first of the double header rounds as well. So we'll have a sprint race which will last about 20 odd minutes. The drivers will score half the championship points that they usually score in a round in that sprint race. And then afterwards we'll have a 40-minute reverse grid main race where again they'll score the other half of their normal round championship points. So all in all, those 2 races at Circuit of the Americas, the drivers do compete in both. They will effectively score the equivalent of a single round. The points are just divided up between the 2 races, but it's a new format that we brought last season. It proved to be pretty popular between the drivers. We've made some tweaks, mainly the points difference and also how many drivers are actually involved in the reverse grid, because previously it was just the top 16 and now I believe it's the entire grid that gets reversed for the main race, obviously taking the finishing positions of the sprint race. But that'll be at Circuit of the Americas. That'll be an interesting one to watch. Make sure you click the subscribe button here on the AOR channel And if you like the video and hit the bell notification and interact with it, not only will that trigger the YouTube algorithm, but which will obviously help out the AOR channel, but also help out you guys, because it will push that content to your YouTube homepage, and obviously makes it a lot easier to find and watch in the future. Matt, where can everybody follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at mcthomas2905, and you'll be able to see my thoughts about anything video games and racing related on there. But thank you for having me along this evening again, and looking forward to the rest of this championship.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be commentating alongside you again this evening as well. I very much appreciate you joining me here in the commentary box and keeping me company. My link to my Twitter, as well as Matt's Twitter, is down in the description below, as well as links to the AOR forum, and also my YouTube channel is down there. It'd be very much appreciated if you went and checked me out there as well, and followed and subscribed on that. Did you have a YouTube channel, Matt?
It's a bit inactive at the moment. I think when I start using it again, perhaps I'll push it a bit more then.
Okay, I'll keep that as a mental note. And yeah, when you start doing more video content, let me know, and I'll check it in the description as well. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this evening. Hopefully, we shall see you back again next week. But from Matt and myself, thank you very much for tuning in. And hopefully you enjoyed this evening's action. Until the next time, have fun, stay safe, and take care.
See you next week.